Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So Arms Against Tyranny is finally here, and we can talk about it. In this short video, I want to go over the main changes they introduced with this DLC, and how I think they may affect the gameplay. I think it will take a few weeks, maybe even a couple of months, to get a precise idea of what the new meta will be. But meanwhile, let's go over the main changes and briefly talk about it. So here we can have a general overview. So first of all, the Winter War. So they reworked Finland a little bit. They also reworked Sweden, Norway and Denmark. So all of the Northern European countries got either a new focus tree or new choices to make them a bit more interesting. I will be completely honest with you, these are not my favorite countries. I haven't played them much, but I guess this may be the right occasion to give them a chance. So I look forward to trying some of these countries in future runs. Next, a war machine of your design. Now this is a relatively big change. And what they did is they changed the national manufacturers and weapon designers. So instead of the flat and kind of boring weapon designers that we had before, you now have new ones with more interesting changes. Let me briefly show you what we're talking about. So now, as you can see, this tab looks a bit different. The industrial concern is the same, but when you switch to the material equipment, planes, ships and tanks, you now have slightly different icons, more choices, and we will need to explore exactly how this works, but more impactful overall designers. I don't think this change will be massive, but it is a welcome addition to the game, and it may make interacting with designers a bit more interesting. We'll see how it is in an actual gameplay in the next videos. Next, guns for butter. You now have a new tab, the international market, in which you can export or import weapons from other countries. Again, let me show you what we're talking about. Here we go, it's an entirely new tab up here between research and trade. It's called the international market, and you can buy or sell equipment. It looks a little bit like when you were giving equipment away for free, like to your puppets to annex them and stuff. So now that we have the international market, we basically can sell equipment. If we have any additional equipment, say we want to sell some trucks, we can add them here. And we get this value. This looks like civilian factories. It's actually a new currency or something like that called economic capacity. So say we sell 10 of them for 50 economic capacity. We add them here. And then to buy something, you actually need to gain access to someone's market. In this case, let's see if Germany is willing to give it to us. So we can negotiate market access. Going to do it. Let's unpause the game. Okay, they accepted. So what happens now? What happens now is that they are not selling anything, so we cannot buy anything from them. Okay, so this is a fairly interesting tab. I'm not sure, because to be honest, to be entirely honest with you, there are already a lot of things, a lot of tabs to manage in House of Iron. So I hope this doesn't become too intensive in terms of management. But what I can see, the potential I can see in this is that if you're a big country and you have a lot of surplus in terms of equipment, you can now do something with it. You can sell it instead of wasting it. So this may be a good thing. And on the contrary, if you're a small country, you may be able to buy equipment from some of the greater nations and fill in your army with some of the guns or equipment that you need and you cannot produce by yourself. So I see potential in this international market, but we will need to see how it plays out in actual gameplay. So we'll talk a bit more about it in the future runs. New military options. Many updates and changes to the design and organization of military divisions, including customization of special forces units, division specializations and more. Now, this is massive. We'll talk about this a bit more later when checking the patch notes. But this is likely to change the meta for most of the designs that we created so far. And then new art and music, well, not particularly interested in this. So let's go on and check the actual patch notes. Here we go. I highlighted some of them, the ones that I consider to be the most interesting. Of course, here it's talking about the focus tree changes to the Northern European countries, but we already talked about that. So the first one is added Special Forces Doctrine page with branches and stuff for Mountaineers, Marines and Paratroopers. and 3 new support battalions. Now this is quite interesting. Let's go and look at it. So now when you check the doctrines, you have a new tab here at the end called Special Forces, one dedicated to Mountaineers, one for Marines, and one for Paratroopers. Now I haven't started this yet properly, but as you can see the changes seem pretty good. Look at this one, for example, plus 20% attack, that's quite massive. So I would say that these are likely to make the elite forces very good, the special forces very good. Probably, at least in some occasions, we will have the choice between a big army, and so investing first in the land doctrines, and a smaller, more specialized army of Mountaineers or Marines, but a very powerful one. So it may be a quality over quantity or quantity over quality kind of situation. I like the idea. The thing is, of course, investing in these doctrines costs army experience, so it's the same as the land doctrine, which means you need to make a choice whether to invest in the Mountaineers first, say, or in land doctrines first. And at the moment, I still do not see a big reason to go for special forces and not for all forces, since all of the changes that you get from doctrines affect regular armies and special forces. So far, I think it just makes sense to invest in the doctrines first, and then once you're done with doctrines, if you have any extra army experience, you can start investing in the special forces. The problem with that is that usually by the time you finish with your doctrines, land doctrines, the game is almost over, or the interesting part of the game is almost over. So I'm not entirely sure how this will play out. We'll need to see. Next, some additional changes to land doctrines, which now have additional bonuses, specific battalions and so on. It may change, of course, the meta or the choices in terms of land doctrines, depending on how the new templates would look like and how many changes they made to the doctrines. This will require more in-depth analysis. We'll go over this in future videos. Super heavy tanks are now support companies. Now, I don't think this is particularly important. I never really used super heavy tanks. I think this change may actually make sense because it was very difficult to create an army of super heavy tanks. So maybe it's at least possible to use them as support companies. We'll see. Engineer support upgrade technologies now yield a 33% entrenchment per level. I'm not entirely sure about this. The thing is, engineer support companies are so good that you always want to have them and you always want to invest in the technology upgrades. So regardless of what this does, it's not probably going to change much in the way we play the game. Most tank chassis now grant 10-20% more armor. This may be a very interesting change. The thing here is there were not many reasons to upgrade from the basic medium tank chassis. And with this upgrade to the armor, although the armor is not the most important stat, or it used not to be the most important stat, this may give us more reasons to upgrade from the basic chassis to the more advanced ones. Again, we'll need to see how it goes. Probably I will test this with my German run in future. Field hospitals now grant 15% experience loss prevention from 10%. I really think this is not enough to make field hospitals interesting or useful. So I don't think this will change much in the way we play. When a puppet controls a province that is part of a strait, now the overlord policy will apply. Well, this is a needed change. I would say about time they made this, so your enemies will no longer be able to go through straits controlled by your puppets. Next, increase hardness penalty for wheeled and half-track suspension for tank designer. This may be huge because while we don't care much about the armor, we do care about hardness. We want good hardness on our tanks. And wheeled or half-track suspensions were the way to go most of the time for tanks. So now, depending on the penalty, we may want to change the suspension time for tanks. So this may affect the tank designs significantly. Tank speed and armor upgrades are now added stats, not multiplicative. This is also a change that may affect our designs. So again, we'll need to see how it does it. Excess thrust will now increase agility instead of max speed. This affects, of course, the plane designs. We'll need to see exactly how. And the next one too, airframes now have base max speeds to better represent the airframe size and the speed effects. Now, what I hope for here is that this will make medium or large airframes more viable or more interesting to make. Because as you know, for now, there was almost never a reason to go for something which is not a small airframe. So we'll see if this affects the meta for planes significantly. They made a lot of changes to planes, so I'm pretty sure the meta will change one way or another. Another big change is they reduced terrain combat width slightly. They reduced their terrain combat width slightly, and they changed the support width also. So this is likely to change the meta for infantry templates. Again, I don't know exactly how. We'll need to wait for a bit to see how it goes, but yeah, that's likely to change the infantry templates. And not only the infantry templates, also the armored ones. Then a major air rebalance pass for airframes and models. Same thing as I said earlier. We need to see how this changes the plane designs, but I think they are very likely to change. Another very important change they made to plane designs is the increased tech date for survival studies to 1939. Let me show you this one. So now in the plane tab or in the air tab for researches, first of all, we have something new. Like, for example, these torpedo researches are new. And the other big thing is the survivability studies used to be in 1936, same as the range improvements. Now they are in 1940, 1939. What this means is that there will be an even bigger difference between the designs we make in 1936 and the ones we need to make when World War II starts. We used to research in Advanced Engines 3, but at this point we may end up having our good planes a bit later, a bit after the beginning of the war. So this may be a very important change for what concerns air designs and when to produce them. Then they also improved the aircraft turrets and they slightly decreased the agility hit for large bomb bays. I'm not sure about this second part, but the aircraft turrets used to be already good and they were used in some of the meta designs. So if they improve them significantly, this may be an important change for the new meta designs. Added new text for plane designer, same thing, and we checked some of them just now. Agility and speed increase effect on air combat. This is another very important change. It may affect a lot the new designs. And then updated combat width defines and implemented type 2 combat widths. I'm not exactly sure what this means or what this does, but any change to the combat width means likely new meta at least in terms of combat width. Now, these are all of the important changes that I found and that I decided to highlight for you guys. Most of these changes, we just need to see what they do and how they play out in the game. As you can see, I started a new game with Italy just to check out some of the new things. I plan to continue this game. My idea is to go for a run in which I just play as Italy with my usual strategy so that I can compare all of the new things compared to the old strategy and see, well, if the strategy is still viable and if the changes are really impactful on the gameplay. This will be a separate video because in this short video I just wanted to go over the main changes in the game. Also, and this is an important thing, when a big patch like this comes out, a new DLC, many changes to the game, usually in the following weeks they release additional hotfixes and they adjust the balance a little bit more. So I don't want to make too much content now because I don't have a lot of time, and the risk is that if I make content now it may be already outdated in a couple of weeks. So I would ask you to be a bit patient. Let's wait and see what happens with the new patch notes. And once this new DLC and patch is stabilized, I will start again making new videos. Of course, I will talk about the new designs, the new infantry templates, and all of these things. But I don't think there is much point in doing it right away. It's better to wait for a little bit. In the meanwhile, well, first of all, next week I will be on vacation. I will be exactly, well, it's not, the island where I'm going is not here, but it's next to Okinawa. So I will be around here in Okinawa. Please ask China not to attack Taiwan while I'm here, if possible. But yeah, so for 1 week I will be away. I will probably not make any content next week. And then once I'm back, I was thinking about, yes, trying a test run with Italy, a test run with Germany to see the changes on our strategy with Italy, the plane designs and the tank designs in the case of Germany. But also I wanted to play some Crusader Kings 3. It's one of my favorite Paradox games. And I think this is the right chance since I prefer to wait a little bit for new content concerning Hearts of Iron. I guess that's all for today's video. By the way, guys, let me know in the comments which of these patch notes or changes you look forward to the most. What do you think it will be more interesting or will affect the gameplay and the designs and the meta the most? And I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.